Well, the problem with renovating the current jail is that it's first part of it's 60 years old. So we're dealing with a part of the building where we're going to have to do extensive. If we stay there, we're going to have to remodel the whole thing. So a lot of costs into that. Secondly, is the design of the jail is not really. It's not current standards. I mean, we're talking about we have a linear jail where staff have to actually walk down the hallway. They look into a small window to check on inmates at night, whereas the new current designs, the pod design, allows somebody to look into the different pods at all times. So they have eyes on the inmates at all times. So to renovate our current facility really doesn't make much sense, because we're renovating a design that in many aspects, when it was built back in the 80s, was probably outdated then. And why would we want to invest in that? I don't think it's good investment of our funding. I don't think it gets us 20, 30, 40 years out where the county board's master plan wants us to be.
Yeah, and one thing I think you had mentioned was the facilities, there's a grandfathering system. Would that be affected by trying to renovate the current facility?
Correct, that would. You bring up a good point there, that if we go in and we do extensive remodeling, then we've got to comply with a lot of the Department of Corrections codes that we don't normally have to right now because of the age of our facility. So if we come in and do a major remodel, then the Department of Corrections is going to come in and say, well, now you have to comply with all these different standards, which would make it that much more difficult to renovate our current facility and the way it's set up. Part of coming into this whole process was the county developed a master plan. And out of that master plan, they identified the jail and sheriff's office, ADRC, social services as top priority of buildings that need to be replaced. And we were also given direction that we need to put together something that's going to be sustainable long term, looking out decades into the future, 20, 30, 40 years out. So I think if we were to be given X number of dollars to say you got to fit it into that, that doesn't allow us to do that long range planning. So I think we need to be careful, and the board needs to be careful when they think about that, that trust us that we're going to put together a plan that's going to help the county and provide something that's going to last long term. And if we have to in the end trim some of that off, we'll work on that and see what we can bring back, what we can trim back. But my goal has always been is that I'm not going to be here forever. You know, I've got so many years to put in, and then who's after me, and then who's after them, and who's after them, and where do we make this facility? We want to make it so that it's 50 years out and before the county has to look at it again. That's the goal.